Picture this: a Hollywood legend vanishes at the height of her fame. Intriguing, right? Well, that's exactly what Greta Garbo did, and her disappearance only made her more fascinating. Let's dive into the enigma that was the divine Garbo. Greta Gustafsson, born in September 1905 in Stockholm, wasn't always destined for stardom. She came from humble beginnings, one generation removed from peasant stock. Growing up in a poor area where the grass didn't grow, young Greta's early life was far from glamorous. The youngest of 3 children, Greta left school early to help support her family. She worked in a barbershop and later in a department store, dreaming of something bigger. Her father, plagued by ill health from years of labor, passed away when Greta was just 14, adding to the family's hardships. But fate had other plans for Greta. While working at the department store, she was given a chance to appear in a commercial. It wasn't exactly an auspicious acting debut, but it set her on a path that would change her life forever. With remarkable courage, she resigned from her job, stating her reason as wishing to become a film actress. Her bold move paid off when she secured a place at the Royal Dramatic School. There, she learned everything from fencing to speech, though she'd later joke that she never had much use for the fencing lessons. It was during her first year at drama school that 17-year-old Greta's life took a dramatic turn. Greta auditioned for Maurits Stiller, one of Sweden's leading film directors. Stiller saw something in Greta that others had missed, a raw talent waiting to be molded. He cast her in the epic Gösta Berling's saga, based on a classic of Swedish literature. Stiller became more than just a director to Greta. He was a mentor, a father figure, and the person who would shape her into the star she was destined to become. He saw her as rough clay that he could mold, bringing out gifts that Greta herself didn't yet realize she possessed. Buoyed by her success in Gösta Berling's saga, Greta was ready for bigger challenges. Stiller, ever the mentor, negotiated a contract for her to appear in a German film, Joyless Street, directed by G.W. Pabst. It was during this time that Greta Gustafsson transformed into Greta Garbo, a name that would soon be known worldwide. Garbo's talent hadn't gone unnoticed across the Atlantic. MGM Vice President Louis B. Mayer had his eye on Stiller, but the director wouldn't be parted from his protégé. He insisted that Garbo's name be included as part of any deal with MGM. So, Garbo and Stiller sailed into New York with high hopes, only to be confronted with a long wait while MGM decided what to do with its latest signings. For Garbo, still in her teens and suddenly far from home, it was a challenging time. Nothing in her life had prepared her for this new world. When Garbo first arrived at MGM, the studio was at a loss. She didn't fit the mold of the typical Hollywood starlet. While other actresses were tiny with curly hair and dainty features, Garbo was tall with wide shoulders and big hands. She walked like a young horse, as one observer put it. But then something magical happened. When they put Garbo in front of a camera, a luminous quality emerged. It was as if she had an inner light that the camera could capture like no one else's. MGM cast her in The Torrent, an emotional potballer about Spanish sweethearts parted by a domineering mother. To their delight, audiences responded well to the idea of Garbo as the exotic European. Her minimal, more natural acting style was a revelation. As Garbo's star rose, MGM faced a new challenge: how to market their latest sensation. Garbo's frank approach to interviews and her refusal to cooperate with publicity stunts left the studio scrambling. It was then that the idea of the silent Swede was born. Contrary to popular belief, it wasn't Garbo who refused to be interviewed. It was the studio that wanted to keep her quiet because she was too straightforward about everything. They created the image of a reclusive star, turning Garbo's reluctance into mystique. For her third movie, MGM paired Garbo with one of their biggest male stars, John Gilbert. The combination proved irresistible to audiences across America. The Gilbert-Garbo team was an entirely new experience for moviegoers. There was an unspoken sensuality to their on-screen chemistry that captivated audiences. As the era of silent films came to an end, many stars struggled with the transition to talkies. But not Garbo. Her first talking picture, Anna Christie, was promoted with the tagline "Garbo Talks," and talk she did, proving that her deep, accented voice only added to her allure. At the height of her fame, Garbo did something unthinkable. After her last film in 1941, she walked away from Hollywood. But she didn't vanish completely. Instead, she moved to New York, becoming a different kind of legend. Picture this: a tall woman in a trench coat and flat shoes, walking the streets of Manhattan. That was Garbo, hiding in plain sight. She wore a cap pulled down over her ears and nondescript flat shoes, and not many people recognized her. 1. Garbo rarely left her apartment at East 52nd Street without one of her carefully chosen male companions. These companions had a specific job: to be on constant lookout for what Garbo called customers. These were people who might interrupt her or ask for an autograph. "We've got a customer, I think we've got a customer," Garbo would say, signaling her companion to stand his ground while she made her escape. Behind closed doors, Garbo wasn't quite the ice queen everyone thought she was. She had her quirks and secrets that only a few close friends were privy to. One such secret was her collection of troll dolls hidden under her sofa. Imagine the great Greta Garbo, playing with colorful, wild-haired trolls when no one was watching. It's these little details that show us the real person behind the myth. One friend recalled seeing the trolls' positions change over time, as if Garbo had been playing with them. Despite her desire for privacy, many who knew Garbo believed she was lonely. Her fame had isolated her, creating a barrier between her and the rest of the world. Being a very big movie star had made her strange, but as one friend noted, she was strange to start with. Part of Garbo's struggle came from her background. She considered herself a peasant with limited education and social skills. The fact that people were pursuing her because of her two-dimensional image on screen would have confused and perhaps even distressed her. So, what's Garbo's legacy? She proved that in Hollywood, sometimes what you don't show is more powerful than what you do. Her mystique outlived her career, keeping her relevant long after she left the silver screen. In a world of oversharing, Garbo's silence speaks volumes. Garbo showed us that true stardom isn't about being everywhere, it's about leaving people wanting more. She created a character beyond her films, the hermit about town in New York. This older woman with her grey hair pulled back in a rubber band, walking around in her trench coat, became as iconic as any of her film roles. Even decades after her retirement, Garbo was still capable of making headlines. When she died, Greta Garbo had not made a film for nearly 50 years, over 40 of which she spent living alone in New York. Yet such was her enigma that her passing was still front-page news. Greta Garbo is remembered as a solitary ice queen, frozen in time, stalking the streets of New York. But was this the real Garbo, or a carefully cultivated image? The truth, as always with Garbo, is somewhere in between. She wasn't alone, she was left alone. There's a crucial difference. Garbo had her own little world with clear boundaries. She had such a strong presence that people rarely invaded her space. In the end, Greta Garbo was a complex woman who defied easy categorization. She was a peasant girl who became a Hollywood icon, a silent film star who conquered talkies, and a recluse who walked openly on the streets of New York. She was a woman who wanted privacy but craved connection, who shunned the spotlight but never truly escaped its glare. She was an enigma, a paradox, a legend. She was Greta Garbo. Garbo may have wanted to be left alone, but her legend will live on forever. She showed us that true stardom isn't about being everywhere, it's about leaving people wanting more. And that, my friends, is the real secret of the divine Garbo. In a world obsessed with celebrity, where every detail of a star's life is scrutinized and shared, Garbo's approach seems almost revolutionary. She understood that mystery is the heart of allure, that what's left unsaid is often more powerful than what's spoken. Greta Garbo's life and career remind us that sometimes, the most fascinating stories are the ones we have to piece together ourselves. In her silence, in her absence, in the gaps between what we know and what we can only imagine, Garbo created a legend that will continue to captivate us for generations to come.